I began working for the railway in July 1973. It happened more by accident than anything else. The pay for working for 40 hours a week was double that I could earn from cooking. So I started as an auto truck driver, towing luggage skips up and down Ryde Pier as a summer-only job in 1973. I intended this just to be a fill-in job until the end of the summer and then think about what I was going to do after that. As the summer drew to a close, I was offered a permanent job as a district relief leading railman. This job entailed covering all jobs on the railway between Ryde Pier Head and Shanklin. Jobs covered were gangway operator at Pier Head, crane driver at Pier Head, ticket collector at all stations, booking office at Shanklin and Sandown, parcels office at all stations, pilotman when single line working, and night watchman at Ryde Pier Head. The variety of the work gave me a good insight into the workings of the railway, and I did this job for 2 years. Some of this work provided some entertaining moments. One of the turns I had to do was to be in the parcel office at Ryde St John's Road during the afternoon. This used to be so boring as hardly anybody ever used it. I would have to sit there and just wait until 4 o'clock came round and then go home. The parcels office would have parcels in it, and occasionally a person might come in and pick up one of their deliveries. On this particular afternoon, my brother-in-law Clive came down to see me to keep me company. We were both sat there having a cup of tea when we were shocked to hear the phone ringing, and I answered it with trepidation. The voice on the other end sounded somewhat impatient and said in a posh voice, "I have been waiting for my tea trolley to arrive now for 4 weeks. Is it there yet?" I duly informed the exasperated tea trolley person that, "No, I'm very sorry, but it hasn't. I'm sure it will be here soon," and put the phone down. As I turned round to tell Clive what had just happened, I promptly tripped and fell over the tea trolley. Well, it kept us laughing for the rest of the afternoon. The worst part was I didn't have her phone number to call her back.
One of the things that used to be transported by boat to Ryde was a two-day-old chicks. They were packaged in big boxes with about 200 chicks in a box. One day I'd driven down the pier with one of these boxes and took it to the parcel office where Nigel was the parcelman. As he threw it up on the shelf, the lid flew off and all 200 chicks fell out the box. Well, We had to shut all the doors quickly to stop them escaping. There were chicks perched on everything, shelves, ticket machines, you name it. Chicks were perched on it and cheeping. It took us about 2 hours to get all the chicks back in the box. Another thing that was sent by rail was dry ice. This used to come in boxes about 18 inches square. Nigel and I knew that if it came into contact with water, it would give off a smoke-like effect. So one day we decided we would unwrap a box and dump it into the sea to find out what would happen. As soon as it hit the water, the sea started to churn up and smoke profusely. It looked most peculiar, and with all this smoke coming out of the sea, I wondered what the holiday makers walking past made of it all. It used to come across my mind about these things that went missing or got damaged in the parcels office. What did the people think who were waiting for their deliveries? No wonder the railway parcel service went up the chute.
I applied for the guard's job vacancy in 1975 and got the job. At 23, I became the youngest person to be a guard over there. I did my training at Eastleigh in the Campbell Road Training School and passed out 6 weeks later. The manager at that time was a person called Red Streeter. Quite an amicable character, but he could get cross if you didn't do as you were told. One day, he told all 12 of us guards we had to start wearing full uniform, including our hats. I detested wearing my hat, so I went to the doctor and asked for an exemption note, as wearing a hat gave me a headache. To my surprise, he issued one. When I got back to the depot, I proudly presented my certificate to Mr. Streeter. He looked at it and then said, "Go and put your hat on." Well, that trick didn't work. I eventually decided it would be easier to conform and wear the stupid hat than have a running battle with Reg. So the first day arrived and put on my stupid hat and went to work my train. The old standard stock over there had a corridor connections to get from coach to coach, but no protective bellows to stop you falling out. The rule book said we shouldn't walk between, but everyone did. On my first trip, we were going across Moreton Common between Brading and Sandown. As I walked from one coach to another, a gust of wind caught my brand new hat and whooshed it 20 feet into the air, and it landed somewhere on the common. I couldn't believe it. How was I going to explain to the governor that I lost my hat on the first day of wearing it? I knew he'd never believe me if I told him. What was I going to do? This happened in the days before we owned a car. So after I'd finished work, I'd ask my dad if he'd take me in the car to Moreton Common so that I could search for my hat. He dropped me off and I climbed over the fence. And there, waist-height grass everywhere. and the task seemed hopeless. However, after a 20-minute search, I actually found it. I became quite used to wearing my hat after that, plus it stopped all the aggro from Mr. Streeter.